web itself as, from the very beginning, a metadata invention. Links are a way of pointing at another piece of content. And links, the way they work on the web, obviously, is that you write them in your own language, in English or whatever, and you contextualize them, and you say, you got to read this, it's great, you got to read it, it's really stupid. You put in more information, telling people why they should go to this other spot. And that whole metadata level is of incalculable value. It's the only thing that makes the internet usable and worthwhile. There's actually tremendous value in the metadata that we produce sort of extrinsically and implicitly rather than what we sit down to create. So the creative stuff frequently is of tremendous importance. It's the links you put into your blog. It's the way you collect a set of pages that you think are important to you or to others, whether you tag them for yourself or you build a little linked page or you do this socially. All that stuff is very, very important. There's also metadata that we leave behind that we create implicitly. And because it's implicit, it often reveals much about ourselves that is very useful, either when you're dealing with me as an individual or put it all together and you get a pretty interesting picture of us as humans. So sites like Amazon have been using the implicit metadata of how long we stay on a page. So we don't stay on the page in order to send a signal to Amazon. We're staying there for some other reason. So that's implicit metadata. Which links we click on in which order. They use that as a way to help them as a commercial entity, and also to help them show us books we might want to buy from them. The role of metadata goes way, way beyond that. A quick example is the authority of what somebody says. Do we believe it or not on the basis that she said it? That's metadata. That's not. So one person says it, the next person says it, but this person we believe because the metadata that comes along with that is that she's an expert, she's accredited, or her ranking is way up high in wherever, in Google or on Facebook or whatever. So authority itself is a type of metadata, and there's obviously a tremendous amount of value in that, especially if you're in the media, where you're seeing your authority drift away, and these homegrown authorities, their authority increasing. And so the nature of what's happening is the nature of the metadata that we count as authoritative is changing. And it has huge implications for the institutions that are built on authority, the media, education, government, science. These big implications in the shift of the nature of metadata. The context and content now are mixed. Foreground and background are completely interchangeable at all times depending upon our needs. It means that we always have now a linked context, can always get more information. Each of those links is not just an informational request for information, but help contextualize what you're reading right now. Yeah. And that is a far, far richer environment for us to be in. And so, doing the old world media thing, communications thing, of thinking of communications as a way in which you own some content, you get value from that content by distributing it and maybe having people pay for that distribution, and the distribution consists of sending it over a wire. This is the old information model, right? Send a signal and it gets received, is missing what's actually happened. What's happened is the world has become completely based around metadata. Everything is metadata, which is to say that everything points to something else, connects to something else, and attempts to try to build content in isolation from the context in which it exists, which is not you, me, and a medium in between, but a world that we share together. Attempts to do that denude the content of its actual value. That was the old model when we only had wires connecting us, but now we have a world that we share together. And so the old model of isolated content is basically just depriving content of all of its value. And there are technologies that surprise us by inventing ways of connecting that we hadn't thought of, and frequently it seems to me, frequently our first reaction to them is, oh, that's trivial. Well, that's a waste of time. Why don't you kids go out play in the sunshine instead of? And then after a few years, it becomes an embedded part of how we're together, how we're social together. So parents who complain about their kids SMSing, texting, they're staying in touch with their friends and their social network. I mean, what's to complain about? And instant messaging goes into businesses. Businesses say, oh, it's just about gossip, and then 2 years later, it's an essential part of their customer support experience. And Twitter also, which is people look at and say, oh, it's 140 characters, it's demeaning of human, baloney. It's if you put together a world of people, and they're engaging in short bursts, and humans are just not that. We're only interested in things that are interesting to us. So through this very small little hole, we poke all sorts of humanity. And Twitter is just a phenomenal tool, phenomenal in part because it seems so unexpected.